You may think these images are from the movie Avatar or perhaps some other distant Earth-like planet. It's hard to believe these places exist on our own planet. Here are 15 unbelievable places that actually exist. Number 15. Underwater waterfall. Mauritius is known for his idyllic beaches and crystal clear. See if there's an unbelievable phenomenon at the southwest corner of the island that appears to be an underwater waterfall, despite how it looks. This isn't actually a flowing region of water but instead an optical illusion that happens because of the seafloor structure. The only one who sits on an ocean shelf, which is no more than 500 feet deep at the edge of the shelf. However, it soon plunges down to depth of almost 2.5 miles. And what you're actually seeing any underwater waterfall water falling down into the abyss, but particles of sand that are being pushed over by the current. 14. Glowworm Cave, New Zealand. New Zealand is one of the most scenic countries in the world, but beyond the peaks of the mountain ranges, the deep valleys, and the glaciers, series of caves that seem to have come straight from a fairy tale. The reason for this is because they are home to glowworms, which are the larval forms of a species of fungus gnats that are endemic to the country, known locally as TTYL, which means projected over water. The bioluminescence that's produced in the insects' abdomens is designed to attract prey and happens as a result of a chemical reaction between a luciferase enzyme and a molecule of luciferin. It creates one of the most stunning sights that you can see in the natural world, that makes for a magical boat ride through the cavern. Thousands of the glowworms are active. 413 Sianki Mountains. China Mountains in the province are some of the most unusual mountain formations in the world, covering an area around 70,000 acres, are made from quartz sandstone. The first begin to emerge from the earth about 400 million years ago. The subsequent erosion of the rock is created these any mountain with ridge of peak of 3,976 feet and are named after the legend of a farmer who led a revolt against the oppressive regime, who called himself the Son of Heaven. When the mountains are covered in mist, there's something mystical about them, and it's no surprise. They were the inspiration for mountain escapes in movies like Avatar, and are one of the most popular tourist destinations in the region. 12 Grand Prismatic Spring, Wyoming, USA. Stunningly colorful Grand Prismatic Spring is in Yellowstone National Park, has the largest hot spring in the U.S. It's bigger than a football field at about 370 feet wide. And with a depth of at least 160 feet, you could fit a 10-story building inside. Its spring has been through a crack in its floor, through which as much as 560 gallons of water is released into it. Every minute is normal. Temperature is 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's because of this that it's surrounded by such my birth rings. The color is created by the presence of microbes that live in hot environment, and depending on the time of year, you'll see red, orange, yellow, green and blues. Number 11. Venezuela, or so used to seeing natural formations that have irregular shapes that it seems almost impossible for something to have a rigid design to it in Venezuela. Isn't your ordinary mountain though, and its 12 square mile summit is surrounded by 1,300-foot tall cliffs almost in a square shape. Actually on a tri-point border between Venezuela, Guyana and Brazil, and has long been part of local beliefs. The Payment and Capone people believe it to be the stump of a giant tree that wants more. All the fruits and vegetables in the world and the seemingly unscalable cliffs have inspired a number of stories, including The Lost World by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Paradise Falls from the movie Up. Pretend Lake, Retba, Senegal. The northwest coast of Africa, about 18 miles northeast of the Senegalese capital. Dakar is it like anything you find elsewhere in the world called Lake Retba has an extremely high salt content and then provide ideal conditions for Dunaliella Salina LJ to thrive, with a bright red color that make the water appear to be this unusual. He was far more prominent during the region's dry season 3, November and June, and the effect is accentuated by the magenta bushes that grow around its shores. The lake is an important economic center to thousands of people who rely on retrieving and selling the salt deposit. Smallest fishing, the water's catches here don't quite match up to what's possible in other lakes. However, because just survive in such salty water, the fish only grow to around 1/4 the size they would do elsewhere. Good night. Red Beach, Engine, China. China is a country that's full of incredible geographic sized as perhaps none as surprising as the Red Beach and punching its around the mouth of the Pending. Some Tracy River with a soil is too alkaline that very few species of plant can grow one that does particularly well. Is this where this Elsa has a deep red color and it looks so remarkable? It was once thought that Mars was red because it was covered in crimson plants. And if that were true, the future pension is surely how it would have appeared with so many plants growing on the shores. The Red Beach has the largest wetland area in the world and together with the largest reed marsh in Asia, which is also there. The whole region is a protected area of natural interest. It's home to more than 260 different species of birds and more than 400 species of other types of animals, including the rare red-crowned crane and black-mouthed gulls. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Travel with Osas with notifications on. Break the Crooked Forest. It was first discovered called the Crooked Forest. There are an estimated 400 pine trees that have for some reason grown very differently to normal. It's not that they were planted during the 1930s, when the region was a part of Germany. And after emerging from the ground like usual, they bent towards the north for several feet for growing upwards again. It's not known why this is happening. Why? It's something that only these Florida trees have done. There's a couple of theories. The first is that as a result of human design, perhaps because of a tool that was used when they were first planted, or the alternative suggestion is that they were all subject to a freak weather event such as a snowstorm, while they were young, and their development, no record exists to support either theory. However, so it's quite possible. We'll never know for certain. Number 7, Stone Forest, Madagascar. Madagascar is usually thought of as a place with an unparalleled amount of biodiversity, but its geographical features are equally impressive. The Stone Forest, which is within the Singing Dave Amara Hot National Park, began life hundreds of millions of years ago as a lagoon. Limestone deposits formed on the bed and due to tectonic activity were lifted above the water surface. As the lagoon receded, more limestone was revealed and I was won away by the monsoon rains over the following millennia. This is combined with groundwater erosion that formed caves that subsequently collapsed and left a series of towers with canyons between, has resulted in the largest such formation in the world. Its name means where one cannot walk barefoot, and that's an apt warning. These people are some of what you're up to 2,600 feet high or sharp enough to easily cut through flesh or equipment. So I have to be traversed with the utmost of care. Number 6, Lake Baikal, Russia. Lake Baikal, which is in southern Siberia, is the largest known freshwater lake in the world. Contains almost a quarter of our planet's non-sealing surface water at 5,387 ft deep. It's the world's deepest lake and is also thought to be the oldest after forming around 25 million years ago. As you'd expect, there's a wealth of plant and animal life in the region, and it supports countless villages in tribes. But the thing that's particularly amazing about this place is what happens when it freezes over. Because it's formed in a valley, it's exposed to freezing winds that blow across the surface. And this leads to the creation of unbelievable ice structures that are hard to believe. Form naturally, methane bubbles are often trapped in the ice. Particles are blown together, frozen, melted and refrozen to join into unusual shapes. Rocks can be seen sitting on their own icy pedestals at the right time of year. This is one of the most serene and awe-inspiring places on Earth, that well worth a visit if you get the chance. For 5, richest structure, Mauritania. Also known as the Eye of Africa, the richest structure is a strange formation in the desert rock near the small town of Orthodontic in Mauritania. The inverse dome is 25 miles in diameter and has exposed various layers of rock that appear like concentric rings. It's one of the easiest natural structures to see from space, to see from ground level, and if you were there, you'd probably be unable to notice anything different about it from the surrounding land. Quite how it was formed has been the subject of scientific debate ever since it was first discovered in the 1930s. The first assumption was that it's an impact crater from a meteorite, but the lack of evidence of any superheated rock and roll this out instead. It's been formed by millions of years of erosion of softer rock that was probably deposited during a time when the region was underwater. Quite why this happened in such a circular fashion, it's clear. There are ridges and valleys that follow the concentric lines of the richest structure, and evidence has been found that humans have lived here for hundreds of thousands of years. Ancient artifacts have been unearthed that date back Stone Age, such as tools and spears strangely. However, none of them found at the center of his depression, which also discount any possibility that this was a prehistoric mind of some sort. With such delicate rock, there are calls to make the structure a protected site to ensure it can be studied for years to come and hopefully reveal some of the secrets as to how this strange place came to be. Fly Geyser, Nevada, USA. Why Geyser looks like it would be at home on an alien planet amazingly. It's only about 20 miles north of the town of Gerlach in Nevada. You might think this to be a natural formation and actually is the result of human activity on a well was drilled in 1916 with a view to irrigating water. Due to the geothermal activity in the region, the water was close to boiling point. So the well was abandoned, but a calcium carbonate cone began to form around the opening. A second hole was dug in 1964 by an energy company. The water wasn't hot enough for their needs. So they have banded it too, and the structure that formed around it is what we see today. It has a number of openings which the water shoots 5 feet high out of. The entire structure is currently between 25 and 30 feet tall. Platforms in pools have also been created across 74. The water's unusually high silica content in the present OLG that thrive in the conditions are responsible for the multicolored deposits that have solidified around it, and because it's heated to a temperature of around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, produces quartz, something that usually takes 10,000 years to have any other geysers, even though there are a couple of other geysers nearby that have been formed in a similar way. None are as large as impressive as the Flight Geyser, is therefore one of a kind and something you won't see anywhere else in the world. Number 3. Nika Mine, Mexico. What's the biggest crystal you've ever seen? However large you thought it was, it's nothing compared to what a team of miners discover near Nika, Chihuahua, Mexico. A 1910 cavern was found at a depth of 390 feet which has become known as the Cave of Swords, into their astonishment. It was full of gypsum crystals that were up to 3 feet 3 in 90 years later. Another mining crew took things a step further when they were drilling a new shaft and found the giant crystal cave, which itself with 980 feet beneath the surface. This cave and once been flooded with hot water with a lot of minerals to deposit in crystalline structures, the largest of the crystals to have been seen was 39 feet long, 13 feet wide. I thought to weigh as much as 55, which makes it the largest one ever to have been found. Conditions in the cave aren't exactly inviting to people though, with temperatures reaching 136 degrees Fahrenheit and a 99% humidity. Only be in there for up to 10 minutes without full safety equipment. Even if you were prepared for this, that's not possible to visit the cave. Currently, after Robert tried to steal a crystal and ended up suffocating at 9. It was shut permanently and allowed to refill with water, in the hope that the crystals can be preserved and continue to grow until improved methods of exploration become available. Number 2. The Gates of Hell, Turkmenistan. Not only is the existence of the Gates of Hell in Turkmenistan hard to believe, but the way it was formed is perhaps even more difficult to believe. If you had visited this place near the village of Devasa 50 years ago and would have loved just like the surrounding Karakum desert with sand stretching out in every direction to look in the 1970s. The country was part of the Soviet Union and the authorities want a campaign to identify all areas of natural resources that could be mined and used to support the growing population in 1971. Geologists arrived in the area and believed the ground below to contain a cavern that was full of oil. So I set up a test rig to drill down and take for the rest of us. But soon found there to be a large pocket of gas just beneath the surface. Now, there are no official Russian Art Rickman records of what happened next, but according to the story's closed operation, that the times the ground collapsed beneath the ring and swallowed the drill as well as several top Soviet scientists. The remaining researchers were now faced with a problem. They could detect large quantities of methane being released from a home they had just created. I believe this to be a possible health hazard. Their calculations suggested that the best way to deal with it what's the burn, the gas, and that it would run out within a few weeks. It was then decided to throw a grenade in was born. Someone calculated it wrong because since that day almost 50 years ago, the hole is continually burned. The crater is now approximately 230 feet across and 66 feet deep and is filled with the fire's boiling mud, emperor, ocean orange flames. Flames have often been drafted to try and extinguish it for good, especially considering it's set above one of the largest natural gas deposits that are anywhere on Earth. Such is the scale of the problem that no one yet has found an adequate solution. Now, it's one of the most popular tourist sites in the country area of biological research because of the organisms that have been found to be living in the center of the crater. It may perhaps burn out one day like the scientist in the 1970s. It would a big time current progress. It could be several more decades before it even seems to begin slowing down. Number 1. Canyon Crystallize Columbia. Canyon Crystallize is a small tributary river that feeds into the Boil Barrel River of Columbia, but due to its unique plant life is also commonly referred to as the most beautiful river in the world. Fast-flowing water passes through a region that's on the edge of the Amazon rainforest, the Andes and the Eastern Llanos, and is almost perfectly clear. The riverbed has numerous holes and dips in it because of the way the rock caught in the current the bedrock, and this has produced the ideal locations for a species of plant geranium. Plant a carrot to grow during the summer months. It takes on a gloriously red hue, and also provides shelter for other species to grow that adds yellow, green, blue and black into the mix. It's no wonder that this place is also affectionately known as the Liquid Rainbow, and it's so unusual that May visitors still can't believe that it's real. He's it when they're standing right next to it. Subscribe to Travel with OSAS for more and check out some of our other popular videos. Subscribe to Travel.